Hello, my true loves, it's Carla, and I'm here again today in my kitchen for a very special video, pan roasting forever. Today, I'm going to break down pan roasting, which is a dry heat but high heat method that gives you incredible browning, but also ensures that whatever you're cooking is going to be perfectly cooked through, whether that is a protein or a vegetable. I'm gonna show it step by step using winter squash, but every step of the way, I'm going to show you how the exact same method applies to all different kinds of ingredients, from scallops to a couple of onions. Once you understand how to pan roast, you can really pan roast anything. All you need is a stainless steel skillet and a few ingredients: salt, pepper, olive oil, and lemon. And once you understand and have internalized how pan roasting works, it is gonna free you up from recipes forever. Special thank you to Goldilocks for sponsoring today's episode. When we were planning this episode, it was an absolute no-brainer for me that we would use the Goldilocks stainless steel skillet. Pan roasting skillets go together like butter and jam. The Goldilocks skillets have every quality that you should look for when choosing a stainless steel pan. They are sturdy without being heavy. They have riveted handles, so you know this handle is never going to come loose or get wonky. They are beautifully constructed, so they're never gonna warp on you. They have great weight to them, so you're not gonna get scorching, you're just gonna get browning and gorgeous caramelization. And then key for pan roasting, a stainless steel skillet can go directly from the stovetop to the oven, which is a key part of this technique. I love my Goldilocks pans. I use them all the time. And all you need to do is go to cookgoldilocks.com/Carla to pick up some of these pans for yourself. First step is the prep step. Think of prep as everything you have to do to your ingredient before seasoning it. I'm using an adorably cute winter squash, and I'm gonna cut it into planks because that's what I did in the book, and I think that they look cool. So starting from one side and trying to get roughly the same thickness, just going across. 4 is gonna work. This one's gonna be a little thicker. Okay, so now I have my 4 lovely squash planks. Now I'm just gonna scrape out the seeds right into the garbage can. Squash might seem like a weird choice to demo for pan roasting because usually when people think of pan roasting, they think of a big steak or a pork chop or something really meaty. Because we have that assumption about what ingredient you're supposed to use for pan roasting is exactly why I wanted to show it with something different. The whole purpose of the grids and the technique section in Where Cooking Begins was really to break down the essential cooking techniques for my readers and now for my viewers, and then show you how those techniques can be applied to all different kinds of ingredients. And it all works because pan roasting works. So now I have my adorable honey nut steaks or planks. If I were using cabbage, I might cut them into wedges. For a pork chop, I'm just patting dry. Onions I love to roast in half, and scallops, same thing, pull the muscle off and pat them dry. Next up, seasoning. And I have come up with an incredible acronym for the seasoning. It is SPOOL, rhymes with cool, and that's because it is so cool. And if you're cool, you will like and subscribe. What does SPOOL stand for, Carla? SPOOL stands for salt, pepper, olive oil, and lemon. Those are our only seasonings, which is cool. And I am going to now salt and pepper both sides generously. And then freshly ground black pepper. Whatever your seasoning, you want to see the seasonings. For protein, you can follow the rough 1 teaspoon of kosher salt per pound. For everything else, you just want to see it really nicely salt and peppered, visibly, generously. Now we're at the pan part of the pan roasting. I am preheating my 12-inch Goldilocks over medium to medium high flame. That flame level is going to stay the same regardless of what ingredient you use. And we're turned up a little bit high because we want that browning payoff when this ingredient gets into the pan. So by preheating my stainless steel skillet until it's hot before adding the oil is actually going to create a non-stick surface, and that's what we want. We want, when it's time to turn this over, I want it to release really beautifully, and I want to see like a gorgeous uninterrupted brown surface. I'm adding just enough olive oil to coat the pan with no bald spots. So how long this takes to brown is also going to depend on the ingredient. I'm not giving you times. I'm not giving you a measurement of oil. I'm just showing you that you're going to lube up your pan, and then you are going to keep an eye on everything. And when it is beautifully brown, you're going to move on to the next step. The beauty of being led by technique when you're cooking is going to just completely flip the script on how you think about ingredients and getting them from the grocery store onto the table. When people start cooking, they think that there's a million ways to cook everything, and there's just like endless choices, and it would be hard to know without looking up a recipe what to do. But when you break it down, there's actually very few techniques. There's dry heat methods like roasting and sauteing. There's wet heat methods like steaming and braising, and you can go slow or you can go fast. And that's basically it. Once you have kind of unlocked that, you can go shopping and buy whatever looks good, and then on the way home, just think about what's the best technique for the ingredients that I picked up. Now that these are ready to flip, we are at our next stage, which is the turn. Gorgeous. After the turn, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the stove top. The pan is really hot, and I'm never going to get browning on that underside to match this top side. So at this point, I'm going into a 450-degree oven just to finish cooking through. That's the roasting, that's the even cooking, and this is the hands-off step. The squash has been in the oven for almost 10 minutes and it's ready to come out. The best way to check if something is done, if it's a vegetable, is just going to be with a cake tester and putting that in and just feeling what it feels like. So if it passes through with absolutely no resistance, and these feel great, so they're done. If you're cooking a steak or a pork chop or a whole chicken, a thermometer is going to be the best way to make sure that you are at your target temperature. Otherwise, cake testers are awesome. I have my gorgeous pan roasted squash. One thing I love about this cut is that the inside stays really bright and orange, so you get a really gorgeous contrast of the beautiful browning and then that bright color. The L in spool is for lemon. I'm going to squeeze this directly over while it's nice and hot. If this were a piece of protein, I would let it rest for 10 or 15 minutes before adding the lemon. But having that little drop of acidity at the end is going to complement anything. I'm also going to go with a little bit more salt. Fresh crack of peps, and then I'm finishing off with a drizzle of olive oil. The olive oil and the lemon juices and the juices that come out of whatever it is that you've cooked while it sits on the plate is going to make like another sauce, and that's especially true with fish or meat because the juices that release while it sits, and then you get this whole other free plate sauce. Spool is perfect. There's nothing about spool that I don't love and that I'm not committed to. But if you want to tack a Z on the end of spool for spools, and that would represent Zingits. If you watched the Ultimate Pesto video, that is where I introduced the idea of Zingits, which are simply little extra finishers that add a little last like hit of flavor. So for the squash, my Zingit is toasted nuts. So we've got something that's really creamy and soft and sweet, and finishing that off with something nice and toasty and crunchy. But Zingits can really be whatever's sitting on your caddy. They could be whatever condiment you really love. So chili crisp is a great Zingit. Furikake is great. A little last dash of vinegar, even a salsa verde. So Zingits are kind of infinite and endless, and they're also optional. So if you have something lying around that you want to add a little flair, totally go for it. Last but not least, I gotta take a little taste of this gorgeous squash. Generally have a very hard time with the fall vegetables when they show up at the market, but you just gotta like accept it at a certain point. Oh my gosh, so good. It's so dense and creamy. Salty, simple, perfectly cooked. Thank you again to Goldilocks for sponsoring this episode. As you can see, basically nothing stuck to my pan. It's gonna be incredibly easy to clean up. Now you've seen me pan roast this winter squash along with a whole bunch of other things. Hopefully you can take all of the steps of the pan roasting technique and apply it to whatever appeals most to you. And if you guys liked this video and would like to see me do more technique stuff, let me know. I would be very excited to do that. And I can't wait to see what you guys choose to use in your pan roasting method. We're pan roasting today. We are pan roasting forever. I really want to get the last piece there. Another way that I could have cut the squash would just be in half. That definitely would have fit. I have terrible spatial understanding.